Prologue. Early morning fog crept between the trees and the forest like smoke, making Gina wonder why on earth she agreed to go on a hike in the woods for a first date with a guy she barely knew. Devon walked beside her, his hands in his pockets and his sneakers dragging through the sticks and leaves of the forest floor. He was a nice guy. Gina wouldn't have gone out with him otherwise. But they'd met on a dating app, and he'd suggested the hike, and now... "So, what did you say your major was again?" Devon asked, breaking the silence, and Gina jolted at his voice. She hugged herself. Don't be a worrywart. She had no reason to suspect Devon had ill intentions, and he was kind of cute. "Sociology?" Gina mumbled in response. "I'm hoping to study society, you know. It's all really fascinating to me, how people interact with each other and how we shape each other." Devon glanced at Gina with a smirk, his sandy blonde hair swooping over his forehead under his hat. But he had more lines on his face than it had looked like online. She wondered if he was really 21 like he'd said. He looked closer to 30. But who was she to judge? She'd been talking to Devon for weeks before she agreed to meet up. I need to get out of my head. They kept walking through the forest, and Gina tried to wipe her negative thoughts away. Sunlight filtered in between the trees and got caught in the fog like amber. The air was heavy with the sweet taste of morning dew, and sounds surrounded them. The chirruping of birds, the rustle of small creatures scurrying through the undergrowth, and an occasional breeze that sent ripples through branches and leaves. Oregon had the most beautiful forests, and sometimes she forgot to tune out of her busy life in Portland and just enjoy nature. Forest Park was a great place to do that, but they'd gone off the main trail, venturing deeper into the woods. "It's even more beautiful out here," Gina said, in an attempt to fill the silence. Devon looked down at her with a dimpled smile. "See? I told you going off trail was even better. There's no one out here. Just us." Gina smiled in agreement, but she couldn't help feeling a little uneasy. This was the farthest they'd gone from the trail, and everything felt so new and unfamiliar. If she needed to run, she wasn't sure which direction would even take her out. "Maybe we should start heading back, though?" Gina suggested. Devon shot her a look. "Already?" "I just don't want to go too far off the path," Gina muttered. "Oh, okay," Devon said, then gestured to their right. "Let's go this way. Should bring us back." Swallowing her nerves, Gina followed after. The deeper they went, the more Gina started to question if Devon really knew where he was going. Everything looked the same. Trees, shrubs, and tall grasses all blended together in a dizzying pattern of green. Gina's heart rate quickened as she looked around, her unease increasing by the second. Her gaze darted to Devon, and something in his expression changed. His eyes narrowed, and his lips curled into a menacing smirk. She stepped back, but it was too late. Devon lunged at Gina, shoving her against a tree. She gasped in surprise and fear as his hand squeezed her shoulder painfully. "What are you doing?" she demanded, struggling to break free from his grip. His face twisted into an ugly sneer. "You think you can just play with me? I don't think so." His fingers tightened on her skin, and Gina felt her heart racing in panic. She tried to push him away, but he was too strong. Panicking, Gina's instincts kicked in. She had to do something. Gina closed her eyes, gathering all of her strength, and then kicked Devon in the groin with as much force as she could muster. He howled in pain and let go of her shoulders. Taking advantage of the moment, Gina spun around and ran, tearing through the trees and shrubs, jumping over logs and rocks. Tears burned her eyes, but she didn't have time to think about what she'd just avoided. She had to run. Gina pushed her body to its limit, barely registering the branches and twigs scratching her face. She felt dizzy and disoriented, but she kept running blindly,